emotions are energy in motion, right?
Yeah.
Energy in motion, emotion. So if we start to understand our emotion is an energy that is in motion, how does it affect us? We can see how it affects us by observing what surrounds us. Yeah, so we reflect what's going on. So whatever is inside me, I'm reflecting now on the outside world. So you're all components of me, of my thinking, of my beliefs and whatever. Yeah. So when we want to self-heal, going in and being able to observe our life, like that's mastery. Observe what is happening around us, who is in our life, what events are occurring, what people are occurring, and what does that say back to me? Because if it makes us feel comfortable, or if there's someone triggering us, or if we're not happy, then it's like, well, where is that showing up in our life? I had this beautiful thing with the shamans, actually. We do an offering, and he was talking about our altars and dispatcho. It's an offering to the fire, it's an offering to the gods, and this dispatcho was a good offering of food, all of the things, but he makes it look beautiful. And he actually said, like, it's a reflection of what's inside you. Like, you're giving to spirit, you're giving to the fire what's inside you, so you want this to look beautiful. And it was just like one of those moments, like making an altar for myself, or seeing my life as an altar. I've always talked about that our body is the altar of our ancestors. Like we are the altar of our ancestors.
Right,
yeah.
That's interesting.
So how do we want to then show reverence to our ancestors? Whether we think they were good, bad or indifferent is sort of irrelevant, because it's all time relative. They were dealing with what they had to deal with in their time that they were around, whether they were murdering, killing, being nice or not, or poor or rich, whatever the background was of our ancestors. It's all relative to the time that we're in. And we need to not just remember like everyone wants to remember all the good bits. In Australia, we come from a country of rape and murder, and we're convicts.
Yeah.
That's where we come from, as in the wide Australia, not our Aboriginal people, of course, but that's where we come from. So we have to know that in our body and in our cells, so then when we're healing all aspects of, because we have to have black and white, we have to have dark and
of course
light, otherwise it's bland.
That's right. Well, that's what makes the light, isn't it? The dark.
You've got to have both sides. So
is that don't they call it generational trauma or something? That's similar. That's what it is.
Intergenerational trauma, yeah. And I always talk about, like, my example of that. I suffered really bad anxiety, and I never really even knew it as anxiety until maybe, I don't know, how many years ago I went, I think I've got anxiety. But when I look back on my behaviours, it's like, wow, it's been a real thing for me. And it wasn't until I was looking after my dad as he was getting ready to pass. It took him 2 years, but I was with him often, and during the night times he would go into immense trauma. He went to World War II, and he would be throwing hand grenades at night. He'd be yelling out to his men. He would be doing stuff. Now,
how old were you
when this happened?
Yeah, you'd witnessed.
Well, that was only, my dad died only like 20 years ago. Yeah. But as a child, he would have very bad nightmares. Like, he couldn't go and wake my dad up like a normal person. He'd backhand you without like, it was just his natural.
Didn't know where he was.
Yeah. And but we weren't allowed to talk about the war. We weren't allowed to talk about the war or Japanese, actually.
Really? You weren't allowed at home?
At home, we were not.
What was that?
But my dad was too, as we saw when he was passing. He was just far too traumatised.
Wow.
But what we now know about intergenerational trauma is that my anxiety come from his anxiety.
Of course, because he didn't talk about it.
And he didn't talk. They weren't allowed to talk about
didn't
it.
express
They had
it.
one day a year, Anzac Day, where because he wasn't really a big drinker, but he would go and have drinks and play two-up with his mates. And I remember a kid talking about the war once when we were at school. And I come home and said something to my dad about, so-and-so said, rah, 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 rah. And my dad just said, if they talk about it, they don't know it. And it was like,
really, like, just
don't
cover
say
it
another
up.
thing. Just do not say another thing. Yeah. Like, it was that type of tone. And so, yeah, his belief was, if you really, because we found out later, like, Like he experienced seeing his mate be decapitated. Like how do you get over stuff like that?
You couldn't, could you?
And you're 17,
especially when you're
18.
sleeping. Subconscious mind brings it up all the time.
And we're talking about cellular memory before.
Yeah.
That's in himself, and then he passed that on through the DNA to me.
And also how he also, I guess, parented in that too, right? Not to talk about stuff. So they probably taught you to bottle things up. Maybe.
And I think also because of fear of, the war, what they did. Like, it was interesting. This is way off topic, probably.
It's all right.
It was really
this is the juice.
It was really interesting when supporting him to pass, and the fear he had of dying, and dying's really like being able to die well is really important. Like we want to die well.
Yeah.
We want to die consciously. We want to die in peace. And watching my dad die was one of the most painful things I've ever seen with someone so fearful of that. And I think it comes from a lot of our Christian beliefs or religious beliefs about that there's a hell and that you will have to pay for your sins. And I find that really quite distressing and
100%,
not... I want to say not fair, which doesn't really, they're not the right words, but it's not helpful. It's not useful for the way that we live. And so my dad's body was so intense, his spirit couldn't leave his body because he was tight. He was so scared.
Wow.
The whole dying thing is interesting and
changed.
what it means for us when we're alive and how we want to prepare for that, which we should be preparing every day for that.
So another thing is another stoicism thing.
It's another one.
Yeah, prepare for death. Stoicism. Yeah. It's like you be grateful with every day, and you'll learn how to die. I know it sounds morbid, but that's what it is. Morbid. You're preparing for death, so when it comes to the time, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
You haven't regretted. You haven't been bitter. You've lived all the right ways.
That's right.
People with a fear, see, he's been taught to bottle it all up.
Yeah.
So we all pass on, don't we?
Well, that's the only thing we know.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's going to happen. That's right.
That's the only thing that I'm certain of in my life is that one day I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
Whether it's today or in 10 years, I have no clue. But I'm going to be dead.
And where do you reckon we go?
Where do we reckon we go? I don't know that we go far because I actually think our spirit... So I really like the Aboriginal teachings I've received where it's just like the other side of the river. It's just like the other side of the veil. So spirit, like when you see the spirit move from someone's body, you know that it's just there, like it's palatable, like you can touch it, So I don't think it's like we go way up there or way down there. I think it's just here.
Yeah.
I don't think it's separate. And when I go into nature, that's where I see heaven. That's where I see spirit everywhere, whether it's in the water, in the trees, or in the wind, or in the fire. They're the elements that... They're all part of us.
Yeah,
universe, that's what we are. We are the universe within, and I talk about that in my work. Like when we go inside the body, we're going inside the universe itself. So Mother Earth then has, we have 1 trillion cells. Mother Earth has 1 trillion cells. You're one cell of her. So if I go inside your cell, I'm going to find mitochondria. I'm going to find the galactical forces that came here to make you, like all of those minerals and salts and waters and et cetera, et cetera. And that's you. So we really, where do we go? We're here.
Yeah. We're just going next stage.
We're just
I'm like levels, like in a video game, isn't it? We just hit the next level.
Like the Pac-Man, going up and up and up.
Depends how you live this level, Sometimes you go backwards.
Yeah, see, I don't think that. I think that, and I have no idea. But the way that I choose to see, I guess, and my experience is that, and even in the shamanic work, like the course that I was just doing, and over time, it's like we do things like little deaths, and we do about allowing spirits to move through and move on, and like when you start to see it as a tangible thing, it's not about, and certainly there's greyness and there's darkness. There's certainly, not all spirits are shiny and happy. And I think that there needs to be, when people in this field, like we hear a lot of people coming in and opening up these fields and maybe don't have the understanding or the depth of wisdom maybe needed to hold this container when we're opening it up. And I guess I'm speaking particularly with plant medicines and stuff there with people that go and do a lot of that work. that shaman that's holding that space needs to really hold that container so that it's luminous energy that's within that container, not something that can come in and attack or attach. So I guess I don't think about it below, but there's certainly darkness for sure. There has to be.
Oh, there's a lot of darkness. So you said shaman. You just came back from Chile.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. We, there wasn't a we, there was just a me. But I always say we because I feel like maybe I've got like a heap of...
We got to get along with yourself.
Yeah, I do have to get along with myself. It's taken me a long
Venom.
time to
get
Venom?
We eat you.
It's taken me a long time to get to know me. This earthwalk's been tricky. The shaman course, so I've done a lot of self-learning in shamanic. So let me define that though. So shamanic in my world it's the art of medicine through looking at natural forces. Yeah, so when we talk about shamanic medicine, we're talking about what I spoke before about the 4 elements of earth, air, wind and fire, and then the 5th of ether. So when we're looking at healing or how we actually operate in the world, we understand that's like our church, if you like. They're our symbols, and not only that, they are a part of us. So when I talk about shamanism, I'm talking about someone that follows the natural laws of nature and respect those natural laws of nature and lives within those natural laws of nature. So you wouldn't go do a plant ceremony and then do a big acid trip or a big drinking party at a doof party, you know? Like, because you understand that you are the walking embodiment, if you like, but the embodiment of nature. So and I don't have a judgment for people doing that either. I'm not saying that. I'm just using that as an experience. If that's your gig, that's your gig. That's fine. But when we're looking at the plant medicine, because I see a lot of people talk about plant medicine going and having I've had 18 sessions and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and whatever, and that's all fine if that's what you think you need, but how is that container being held for you? And then how is that container held afterwards with your integrative? Because you're opening up your luminous field, your energy field, you're opening that to allow knowledge, wisdom, information, insight to come through. So how are you going to protect that, and how are you closing that back down? Because if we don't have that container, well, then we are leaving ourselves open for, some of the old people call it like walk-ins, like walk-bys, like spirits that are just trying to find a home to jump into,
Energy leeches.
Yeah, they just come
demons.
in.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the shamanism that I do, is because I'm not a shaman, but I practice energy type medicine.
So did you go there for a treatment, or you went there to practice?
I went there to practice.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there to learn, as the Andean traditions have taught. So the Andean tradition, so it's not just, we have ever how many, 750 different nations in Australia of our Aboriginal people. The Andes also has, hundreds of different traditions within the Andes about how they do their work.
And the Andes are in Chile.
And
what they're called.
Yeah, Andes in Chile, Peru, etc.
Yes.
So, the shaman medicine is from those traditions. The practices is what I have been learning about how they work with the body to heal the body, to work with those elements, bringing the alignment and bringing coherence back into the body, and then... And
use the medicine for that too, like ayahuasca?
I didn't do ayahuasca on this one. I've sat with my grandmother a number of times, but no, this one was just straight... we did journey work, but without medicine.
Okay.
In a meditative state. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. So what's your plans after, to do from that, what you learned from that? Do you want to keep going? You're just going along with it, aren't you?
Don't know.
That's good.
I'm waiting to see. I had a title of a book come into me on one of my journeys over there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Which I'm really interested in. Well, I've already started to explore that book and start to structure that out. So I might... And it's sort of a weaving of my last 20 years, teachings of the Seven Sisters, the Pleiadians, and weaving all that somehow together in where we're at today. So I'm sort of just playing with that.
Okay.
Right,
all right, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And before that, when I spoke to you on the phone, because we've been talking for a few months, so I like to start with thank you for coming here. Seriously.
You're welcome. An honor. It's great.
You had to come face to face. It's the best.
Makes it different.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
So you were on the Camino.
Yeah.
Sorry, the pilgrimage walk. Is that? How was that? Like, you got yourself injured? Was that right, or you hurt your ankle?
Yeah. So the Camino, it's very interesting. Like the pre to that, there's always a story with me, right?
That's why you're here.
So there's story after story. But so I had lymphoma in 2021, and the end of 21, I think, or early 22, I actually changed my name. I had this thing that I needed to change my name, and I went to this woman that was very well known as a numerologist. She went to the Akashic records. She's well known, and she was actually not. She was in retirement, and I just happened, as those happen, synchronicities happen. She come into my clinic in Nerang, and I was introduced to her, and she looked at me. She said, "You want me to come out of retirement, don't you?" And I went, "I think I do."
Oh, without even saying anything.
So she did this search for me for my name. So I got a name change from her. And then I was also studying with the Aboriginal grandmothers and sitting in a circle with them just locally on the coast. And I went through I then formalised that naming ceremony with them. So they put it in a fire ceremony. So we had a fire ceremony. So really just saying goodbye to old me and welcoming. So my name now is Suzy Wilson. So Marahura is my old Akashic names when I was a water alchemist. Well, Marahu is and Ra is Sun God Ra, but all parts of my life, and that's another big story. Anyway, I had this.
Just go this way and this way with you. Stick to that one.
So I had this fire ceremony, and in that fire ceremony, it was like a real message too that I had to walk. And I went, oh, okay, I wonder what that means. So I just played with that. And then the next year, then it was, because it's 24, isn't it? So then in 23, I had this whole thing come up about the Camino. It's like, oh, that's a walk, I'll do that. Not really giving it a lot of thought. And then I was also starting to get really busy at work again, and I didn't want to do that. Like, I knew that for me to be well, I can't be really busy in my work, but it sucks you in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when so last year then I booked on the Camino, and then, I went to that this year. And that was the impetus for me being overseas and then going to Chile and doing a water conference and all these other things that happened out of that. The Camino was interesting, like...
some of the pavers, you said that you felt sad.
I felt so sad in some of the places.
You felt
it's
the energy.
Like it was and they were the places where the Romans, like the original Roman stones that they were making for the roads and stuff, And all I could have in my images was the slaves that built those, and their bodies that were probably crushed underneath those because they didn't stop and give anyone a ceremony of death when they died. Like,
bear it over.
See you later, get another slave in and keep going. So that sadness was profound.
Felt it.
In the churches, I found that really, I struggled with that, with that feeling of lack and slavery and disrespect of humans is how I felt at the time. To then these churches that are bound with gold and
it doesn't make sense, does it?
Like, it just didn't work for me, and the way and the fear around that. I don't like fear. Like, it's not a nice feeling in my body, and why would you purposely instill fear to get someone to conform? I don't understand
Control.
that. Yeah.
Control back then. Where was that from? Was that from France or Spain? Is that
where it goes? I started at Bayonne and I finished down at Santiago, Compostela.
So how long did that take?
At 40 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nick, we got to go on that. We're going to go on that, Nicholas. We should. I think Daniel's coming.
Well, you make sure you do it and then together, because that would be so much more fun. But make sure... Well, you guys are young and fit, maybe, but...
Oh, we're talking, it's not straight away.
I wouldn't do more than 20 Ks a day.
Really?
And now it's really popular, particularly in the last 100 Ks, because everyone comes in and they go to the Sierra and it's 100 k's to Santiago Compostela, and then they can get the certificate that you get from the church.
Oh, so they do
whatever.
it just for the certificate.
So they do that just for that, and lots of people do.
Post
I didn't
it
even
on
know you could get a
Instagram and
certificate.
look what I am.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, people don't. That's the meaning of it.
To get him on.
Yeah, so you're feeling the ground, you're feeling the difference, you're feeling it. You're not doing it for certificate, you're doing it because that's what you've been felt you had to do.
And that was hard. Like that was actually tricky and took me to some dark places on that journey, actually. It was some of my writings on social media, if I go back and look, I'm sure they're going to be like, oh, that's a bit desperate and sad. But it's sort of how I was feeling, you know. And then I hurt my foot and I couldn't walk for a week, and it was like, that really, like, well, what else? Like, so when I get like this, it's like, what do you want from me, Spirit? Like, what more? Yeah, what more do you want? And this was my right foot. And I think that physio's messed it up more. But that aside, it still happened for me to go off. And then I went to this place called Leon. So it took me on another journey, and more of a journey of then riding again. But the Seven Sisters were really prevalent. Like,
so what's your Seven Sisters?
So the Pleiadians. Have you heard of the Pleiadians?
No.
So your listeners will love to look up the Pleiadians. And you can look up in Australia the Seven Sisters. And it's a star constellation. And it's a one story, astrologically, that actually brings together us as a globe, to be honest, because the Pleiadians talk about it on the north side, northern hemisphere. We talk about it as the Seven Sisters under here. And in Australia, it's the one story across all of our Aboriginal mobs that joins us together. We all have that same story across Australia, the Seven Sisters. Fundamentally, the story is a creation story, and depending on where you hear it in Australia will be the teachings towards that. But it's a teaching about there was 7 women, 7 sisters, and they were chased by a bad man, Orion, the star Orion. And for them to get away, they went up and they became stars so that he couldn't get them. And I've got a whole bent on that I'm not going to share now because I'm... I'm formulating it in my mind because I want to write part of it in my book, Cool. But the Seven Sisters is it's a really important star story, that brings us around. And Pleiadians. So there's a whole lot of people out there that believe that Pleiadians, it's where we come from. The star, you would have heard of the star seeds?
Miguel Ruiz, the Fourth Agreements talks about stars and light, what we're made of and all that. It's Mexican, Toltec.
So we come from a range of different star systems. The Pleiadians in the Seven Sisters is one star system. So if you come from the Pleiadians, and it's in fact a blue planet, the Pleiadian star system. So there's a whole other journey out there with that.
That's so
cool. But so the Seven Sisters.
Okay.
So that come up as well in the Camino trip as well. It's but it's all, and so did Mother Mary. And then I just watched, how does this all come together? Because
your belief is you're not religious, right? So then she's come up too.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
And I ended up going into a church and there was an altar for Mother Mary, which I think might happen in Catholic churches. And excuse me for naivety, but I was raised in a Protestant church, so we didn't have any of that. But I went and sat at an altar with Mother. You felt you had to? When I went, I was really called in France, in Bayonne.
Wow.
And it's like, what is this about? It gives me little goosebumps even thinking about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then, get this, a couple of nights ago on Netflix, I was looking for a brain dead, and there's a movie called Mary.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I watched it.
Yeah, is it good? It's about
It's about Mary.
Yeah, okay.
Because what was funny on the Camino, I was asking people
that's weird.
So who looked after Mary? Like, what's the story of Mary? I was really curious because I was like, what's this whole story about women? So it all comes to my woman bent, right? Yeah. So, and so whether it's Mother Mary, whether it's the Seven Sisters, whether it's Woman Today, whether it's us moving now into our more feminine, like we're in the water cycle now, astrologically.
See, I've got to get to that too. Keep going, but I'll ask you this for
So we're into that, the feminine, the water, and so the fact that, so that's been my trip since I left, is about bringing all of those elements together, and then been really curious about what Mary's story was like. And I only just found out in this movie, if it's correct, about how she was chosen and sent, and all of the stuff that happened around her. But the goddamn resilience of this woman to trust and know something that was outside of her realm at all, and to go against all, because she was pregnant without being married, and she was promised to Joseph. And
so you never look at that, do you?
Like, it's just amazing to think that she did that.
Yeah.
And Mary, well, that was the mother. Why don't we put, and maybe Catholics too, again, excuse my ignorance, but Mary, I think, is really important in the story of love, because she's the one that imposed and put into, like, Jesus, those early teachings. And I know people will say, well, you know, it was God because it comes from there.
No.
Creation. But she was the mother. That was her DNA.
Mother's the most important.
Yeah. And that's what we're coming back to.
Mother Earth, mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the womb. Yeah. And we've just found out, like, another tangent. Are you keeping up with my tangent?
I am, actually. Yeah, keep going.
We talk about water, just talking about Mother Earth and the womb of Mother Earth, and how we are symbolic of that as women, which is which is power.
Yeah.
Which is power, and particularly as we get older, like the wise women. And older doesn't mean you're wise, but the women that do age and have that wisdom with them, we now, like, it's only whales and elephants and humans that have grandmothers. Otherwise, the female dies off. We don't need to live to 8. Once our childbearing age is done, we don't need to be here.
Yeah, well, that's it. The job's
We've
done.
done our job.
Yeah,
We've done our job.
Vessel.
Men can keep making babies if they got a woman forever, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But you don't need to. Yeah. You don't need a woman, but they keep us alive.
Yeah.
So why do they keep us alive? And they've found out with whales, it's so that the grandmother can pass the information on to the baby whales about where to go for food and when to do this and when to do that. Like, they are the wisdom keepers. Yeah. It's so cool. I love all this, right?
Yeah, me too, yeah.
And then taking that step about being the womb of Mother Earth, now we know, right deep inside, that we have... of Mother Earth, we have water. And the Earth actually is, now we're seeing in science, is actually generating water. It's making water inside. We used to think there was an infinite amount of water in our atmosphere, right? Like, the water comes from the sky, goes down through the processes, up the ocean, back up again. It does that cycle, right? Which it does. But we're also actually making water within the core of Mother Earth. Like, that is so damn exciting.
Is that with, like, Jesus when he gets stabbed and the water comes out too of his stomach?
What is
crucifix.
Oh, was it?
Well, it was water that came out.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, that's the religious side of it. Yeah. Mary. Yeah, when the spear, they finished him. Well, they had to make sure he was dead.
After he was up on the cross?
He died, yeah, and then they want to make sure they got him in the ribs.
So no blood, only water.
Water poured out. There you go. Well, that's giving me goosebumps, Nicholas.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I don't love that.
Well, no, of course.
But
there you go.
How symbolic
this
is
what
that?
I mean. It all links. This is why I look into religion. I look into this culture. It's all the same.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It comes up to Mother Earth. It comes back to what you're talking about.
Well, that's symbolic, isn't it? Exactly.
And it goes back to psychedelic wine too. You know, mushrooms.
Yes.
You know, and this is where I think that's come from. But, you know, don't want to offend anyone. It goes back to Eleusis, the Greek mythology, you know.
Yeah.
Even Aboriginals.
Yeah.
You know, the eucalyptus leaf has DMT in it.
Yeah,
so when they burn the bush,
acacia.
You know, they go walkabout. Like koala bears, they're always stoned.
Yeah, and I know, so stoned. They have a great life. 22 hours a day.
Just munch around. They're full of trees. Get cuddled.
What do you want? I reckon that's a perfect life.
Yeah. So this water, water.
Right, I need to chase that up.
Yeah.
Where that is, because that really goes with my story.
Well, you're talking about Mary. She was there.
Yeah.
So that's the symbolic, yeah.
So that's all now, like, inside Mother Earth, we know that we're self-generating this water, and water is now the intelligence. And it's so, like, coming back to water, because that's, I guess, where my journey after social work started, was with water. But I just this morning read this article that I feel like they've been having microphones in my phones and when I do trainings, because they are writing exactly what I've spoken about for 20 years with water. It's so exciting, that. And because I went, after the Camino, And to finish that off, actually, at the Santiago Compostela, got there, it wasn't like I really urged, just so much wanted to go to the ocean. So I went to Finisterre, which was known as, and it's called Finisterre, it's like the end of the world. In those days, it was like they didn't think there was anything else because you looked out to the ocean.
Is that on the side of Spain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
I love that part.
Another,
it's where they reckon Atlantis could be too.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
Yeah.
From Morocco and Spain, out in the ocean there.
Yeah.
That's where Atlantis could be, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Special spot, that one. Near Portugal.
Yeah, I didn't get to spend enough time in Portugal. I only went there for the water conference because then I had to go back up to Bilbao. Like, all these synchronicities happen.
So you went to the beach?
I went to Finisterre, and it was like, so getting back to the water and the ocean was such an important finishing up of the Camino. But, you know, I had condors, eagles with me every other day, if it wasn't every day, as soon as I got off the train in Bayonne.
What do you mean?
I'd see them in this.
Really?
And I'm serious. And I've got pictures. And even when I was in Chile, when we were doing the shamanic course, every day. And the first thing I saw when I got to our place where it is, in Los Lobos, the sanctuary, the condors came in and there was a family. Like, there was the three of them coming.
What does that represent? What do you reckon?
Well, for me, that was like, and because it was so much on the journey, there was them from Bayonne, Mother Mary and the Seven Sisters. Like, they were my symbols that I continued to receive the whole time, because I work with that. I work with symbols. Like, I'm constantly reading where Spirit wants me to go by reading the symbology and trusting, because there's a big trust element there, because I don't know what the outcome's going to be. And but the eagle for me is the symbology of, well, it's keeping the big picture. Keep up. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day drama of life. 100%. Stay up. And eagle's really cool with energy, right? It uses its energy so well. And this has probably been one of its biggest teachings while I've been there, is so they fly on the currents. Like, they hardly flap their wings, right? They've got the currents. Yeah. They just work it, like, so well. And then the other thing that they do, like, in using their energy, but if they see something that they want, like their food, they can see it from way up there. They go down, get it, pick it up and back up again. No messing around. You know what I mean? So if we can keep that perspective of a higher level, and in the shamanic medicine that we learned, like, there's your serpent level, which is your day-to-day base chakra type perception about how we view the world. And unfortunately, when people are stressed, when we're in anxiety, that's where we operate from. That's why the world is crazy. That's why our head gets messy. We get confused. We get all messed up, right? Then the next level is your Jaguar. And your Jaguar is your emotions, your shadow self. So if you think about the Jaguar doesn't have a predator. It sits up and it can see in the dark. So it's the one that sits up and will see in the shadows and can flush out whatever in the shadows if it wants it, yeah? And that's our shadows. And I was talking to you before about how our shadows hide in our body, in our cellular memory, which, in fact, I don't think it's in cellular memory. I think it's in the waters in our body now is where we store the memory. And that's how it's passed from generation to generation. But so we can look at the world through the Jaguar, and that's, if we're not aware about what our shadows are, we then start reacting. And so when we're talking about relationships, we are reacting from our shadow because this person's reflecting that back to us, yeah? So we work from a place of reaction and of wound. And there's a lot of people talk about wounds, and I think we've got to be careful that we don't get caught into the woundology, you know, because we might match with someone, but we're really matching with their wound because we've got a space to talk about our story. Because we
always talk about it. I remember when I talked to you on the phone about the negative stuff, what's going on, and you said, don't talk about it. And I was like, wow, all right, that's cool. Because it was projecting. You're creating that, right? If you keep talking about it.
If you keep talking about your wound, it's not that you don't heal your wound. You want to heal your wounds. You want to be aware, but you need to take mastery of them and heal them from within. You can go to a psychologist, and maybe you need to do that. I'm not banning any of that. Or a shamanic healer or someone. Fine. But it's actually the change is going to come within
internally.
You. And if you keep having the language, whether it's negative or positive, that's what we're going to see, because that's setting the vibration. And what we know about energy and frequency, we can see how that affects our heart energy, our brain energy, and our gut
vibrations.
Energy. It's a vibration.
And when you raise that, you get people on the same level. That happens.
That's right.
Hey, do you reckon pyramids were made by vibrations?
Do I reckon what?
The pyramids?
Are made by vibrations?
Do you reckon?
Well, there's
Back
actually
then? I'm sorry, I'm going off topic here, but
no.
do you reckon?
Well, if you listen to our Aboriginal people, they more come from the Palladian and the star systems.
Yeah.
So they talk about that the Palladians actually were here because they're actually extra big people. So they're saying that they built them and their technology is way
Is that
above.
the Anunnaki? Is that what they call?
No.
Geez, there's so many stories about this.
There's so many stories.
But that one I really want to look into, that one.
But I think that I always think about that. I think maybe they did. Maybe it was a vibration. But does it matter?
No. Well, I'm just thinking vibration.
But vibration is like what's cool about vibration, and now that we can measure it, right? Because we the science that we've got now is starting to be able to, and this is I feel like I'm going all over the shop. Sorry.
It's all right. People understand.
The water conference was such a beautiful thing that I attended in Portugal after the Camino. I went and did this water conference that happened to start just after I finished.
So the Camino water conference, then Chile.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I did actually Munaki before I went to Chile in Bilbao.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I did the Camino, which was for 40 days, went out to Finisterre, end of the world, and just reconnected with the ocean, and that was really healing for me. That was beautiful to have the water back again. And it was like, so this is when I had all the thinking about the water inside the earth and how we're just a part of that, you know, like to be a part of that. And then I went down to Lisbon in Portugal because there just happened to be a water conference on.
You didn't plan it?
No. Well, I did when I was over there.
Yeah, but not
because I had to get a
beforehand.
ticket. But no, none of this is planned.
Wow.
Like I had to change air flights. It cost me so much money, really, in a lot of ways. But everything was lined up so beautifully.
Yeah.
So I went to this water conference, and it was so amazing to sit in this room of 400 people, maybe, from straight up scientists, straight up down the line scientists, to the most left field energy. You know, people healing with voice tone, like cancer tumours and stuff. They've found a tone that they call hung. That they're healing stuff with the tone of the voice because it's about the frequency. Now, what's interesting in this is that all of this frequency runs in the waters in your body. Your water carries this frequency. What do we do at Bottoms Up? We give you water, and we give you structured water. So now we can actually increase your frequency, or stabilize your frequency, or what we say, offer your body the opportunity to find homeostasis through hydration to be well.
This is where we're talking about Bottoms Up now.
So we can get to there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But at the water conference, it was like when you're talking about frequencies, and what we got to measure that frequency is huge now. We've never had it before, and these scientists, I guess they're more now in the ilk of quantum physics, but it's just science is becoming recognised, you know, and to be able to sit in a room and listen to these men and women talk about this stuff is like music to my ears, and I'm going, oh my God. Like I feel like I was introduced to a whole world of thinking that a lot of us don't get introduced to because we're living in our world. But it's like the science at the moment, it's an exciting time. And to look at the vibration and the frequencies, and for us to understand that we are the masters of our own health. We are the masters of our own thinking. So if we can start to claim that somehow, you know, like start to really understand what that means, because that means huge self-responsibility. And we have been taught for the last few hundred years, we give all of our responsibility to another, whether that be to our doctor, another health professional, or a partner, or a boss. We have been taught to pass that over, you know, and it's like, no, wait there.
We're in a changing time.
Yeah,
we are.
It's such an exciting time.
Yeah, this is why I started this sort of thing, is just all this sort of stuff. It's like, I've got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we're in a change, you know.
And getting people to think outside of their box,
teaching people to think again, logical thinking.
Yeah.
We're all being programmed, you know, to how to think or what to say. Now it's time to feel that get that inner beast out, you know, wake up a bit, unplug. Yeah,
or do the journey within and find your essence.
Yeah.
So I talk about it like this. I talk about that we're born to this amazement, you know, like amazement. Like we we're born and we've forgotten everything that we know, and the world is our oyster. And then what happens is we have a birthday and we get a wrapping paper put on us.
Yes.
Yeah. And then by the time we get to 30, we got 30 layers of wrapping paper on us, and our essence that we were born with is now dimmed. It's still there, but it's dimmed, and we can't find it depending on what wounds we had, what traumas we've had along the way. It's how thick the paper is. So then we get to an age, whether it's 40, when you know, the mortgage has started to get under control a bit, the kids are away a bit, you know, your relationships may be changing, like that type of stuff happens around 40, right? These days. Used to be older, but around 40 seems to be happening now. And then it's like we now want to start to unwrap that wrapping paper. We just want to take those layers off bit by bit, because we can't do it too much, because it's like intense. Like otherwise it's like you're left there naked and going, well, what do I do? What do I do now?
You can get to that point. You can get to that point. You got to start putting the clothes back on. I don't know. Build up your own sort of way, your own opinions.
Or walk in your authentic self.
Yeah.
Just and feel confident in that. It's like my little thing when I was on my shaman, I'll share it. It was like these little journeys we went on, but a statement that came out of that for me was that I'm walking with confidence and courage on my spiritual path, where freedom abounds me. And it's like having the confidence and courage to walk. Like we say all of this stuff really easily, but to go out and live it is hard. And it's like what you're saying before, even like you put yourself out there even doing these types of things, or you know, your family who've always seen you in a certain way, or your friends that have always seen you in a certain way. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, maybe not, or maybe this, or have you thought about that? And they start to go, oh, you're a weirdo, man. Like, where have you been? You've been doing too much bloody ayahuasca or smoking too much hooch. Like, you need to come back to reality.
Yeah, but what is reality? This is reality.
Yeah.
You're doing what you do. You know, you're like leading the way. You know that.
I don't know that.
Well, I think so. Yeah, because like I think people are, like you said, you go through that generational, and it is happening earlier.
It is happening earlier.
I think go back to marriages are breaking up, 40s and 30s are going through this weird stage as well. People are resenting themselves a lot, resenting their partners.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're wondering why.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think people. Can you find that? Like are you single?
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you do that being in a relationship? Like, that's the thing. Oh, you get to go on the walk. Why I get it? You know, this is the problem. And this is what people fight in relationships, I'm guessing. It's like this restriction of people going, oh, you get to go out. Why can't I go? Well, they feel like you can't do anything by yourself, even though you're in a couple relationship. And you can come back better, you know? Yeah,
so it's like we've got into a place of transactional relationships, isn't it? I'll do this and then you can do that. Yeah. It's not reciprocal. And I think about relationships as we need to have time to breathe in and breathe out. A relationship that's healthy is going to have flow. It's going to breathe in and it's going to breathe out. So when we breathe in, we come together. Yeah, and we share whatever we're sharing in that moment with each other. But then we have to breathe out because we have to go and get fed again. I'm not going to get fed off my person in here. I'm sharing that space with them. I want to play. They're my playmate. I want to hang out with them, right? And then I'm going to breathe out. So now I'm going to go and get filled up with all of this good juicy stuff so I can bring that when I breathe back in. And I think that's reciprocity in my world. And I talk about reciprocity, I guess, it's as opposed to a transactional agreement, which is like, it feels like, but that's quite a patriarchal thinking, actually. That's actually quite something that we're brought up, is that you work this hard and I'll give you this much money. You go out and do that and then you can do that. It's all like this, a trade. And it's how we invented computers. Like, it's a byte, it's black and white. Yeah. And that's male thinking, and that's not being disrespectful. No. It sort of is. It's just a psychology, right? It's like, it's how it works. Service. So, yeah. And so we've sort of tried to make that into a model, and there's half of the model that we're trying to make that for that doesn't work, which is the woman, because it's like, no, wait there's a greyness here. I actually need to sit down, and you don't have to do anything, but can you just sit down with me and hold that space for me? Yeah. So we've forgotten, and that doesn't have to happen straight away. Like, when it's transactional, it's like you want you pay for chocolate and you get your chocolate straight away. You know what I mean? Whereas when it's reciprocal, it might happen in a week's time. It might happen in a year's time. It might happen in 10 years' time. Like, that's no, because we don't have time. Time is not linear. Time is made up, again, by patriarch because we wanted to have everything in order. So we invented a clock. We invented 12 months. We invented the months that don't even fit, whereas we had 13 months, we'd have 28 days, we'd go with the moon cycle, which is all woman power. Yeah. See? So you can see why then they're going to take that out because it's like, oh, no, wait there, they got too much power. Yeah. And I'm not thinking this is even conscious, maybe it is, but but subconsciously it's like, no, we need to shift this. So I think like all of that stuff you're talking about, it is all repercussions of these long lines of transactional relationships, how we see ourselves, the packages that we package ourselves up in, whether it's like, and I know when I left social work, and I was becoming bottoms up, and that's funny in itself, like in the bush in Mackay, in the middle of nowhere, doing this therapy on land which didn't have electricity or water. Like, who would do that? And here I was, a burnout social worker. But my name was always, for the best part of 20 years, Suzy Wilson, BA social work. Like, that's how you signed off because you did it for court reports and letters and whatever I was doing. So it's just become my sign-off. And I remember actually having a real moment one day on the farm where I started clinics, and it's like, holy hell, what the fuck? Like, who am I? Like, how do I sign my name off? Like, who is Suzy Wilson anyway? Yeah. Because it's like, I was an auntie from when I was like 10. Then I was a mum from when I was 16.
Wow.
So then I was like a daughter that looked after my sick parents. And then I was a wife. And then it's like, but who am I? So, and I still don't know the answer to that.
That's why you're going on your journey. So, how old are you? 60, right? You said
60 now, yeah.
And you're still going.
And like when I was 40, it was like when I did that changeover from social work to bottoms up. So then I become Suzy Wilson, bottoms up clinic. So it's like if anyone talks about bottoms up, it's like, oh yeah, Suzy Wilson. It's like, oh yeah, but then it's like, no, wait there. Like, am I someone else? Like, who actually am I away from all of that? So I think that it's a journey that we can all go on.
That's so good. You're awesome. All right, that's awesome. Okay, bottoms up. We're going to talk about that bottoms up. So what made you start bottoms up? And that's a colic clean, right? Hydration.
Yeah, so bottoms up is closed colon hydrotherapy. It's been around since the Egyptians. Yeah. Potentially since the Palladians. Oh. It was actually used as a spiritual work originally, and it was used. And Jesus would fast and do enemas. Yep. He would cleanse by the river with his disciples, and they would do enemas and cleansing, and they would use gourds. A gourd is a vine that grows, or they would use the stomachs of animals as well, and then they would put the water in that way.
Wow. That's not in the Bible.
Yeah, I think it's in the Bible.
Is it? Probably is, actually.
Something, yeah. But there is writings about it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So colon cleansing, but I think it was because the cleansing, and it's interesting to say that about Jesus having water leave his body, but the cleansing allows us to have, so in shaman medicine we talk about the hollow log, it's like it allows the cleansing to allow better connection. Yeah. And if we look at frequency now, that's freaking exciting because water is a frequency, it carries the energy up and down, and in shaman we go both ways. So that's what bottoms up is, colon hydrotherapy closed. So I started that when I was a burnout social worker, and I didn't even know what it was. I was doing trying to learn energy medicine, and someone was asking, and I was trying to find a life because I was burnt out. I was actually really sick. I was going through early menopause. My anxiety was off crazy. My dad had died. I'd left my son's dad. I was up in the Whitsundays. I'd moved up from Sydney. We sailed a boat, actually, and that's how I ended up there. And it was just like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing with my life? And I was practicing energy work on someone, because someone said to me, are you going to work on people's bodies? And I said, ooh, are you for real? No, that's disgusting. I'll do counselling, I'll do consulting. Yeah. So energy was like something I could get into without having to touch your body. I was so repulsed by that then. It's like, but then I went, and as it turns out, looking after my dad, I had to go to the Gold Coast, and I went and looked for this woman who someone suggested I go and see. And I didn't know what I was going for. I thought that I was talking to her about coming up to the Whit Sundays to offer this therapy in this wellness clinic that I had, and I would bring in like acupuncturists and Chinese medicines and stuff from Brisbane, would fly them up, and they would have a week clinic there. So I thought I was doing that with her. The next thing, you know, she had me on the table and I was having a colonic, and I was mortified. It was the most horrific experience I've ever had in my life. It was painful. It was horrible. I was yelling at her. But even through all of that, there was something that happened in my brain. And afterwards, it was like, there's something going on. And it led me on the quest. And really, I talk about that's been my quest for 20 years. And it's only now, really, it's been answered in the last few years about how that affected and changed my brain chemistry. Because when you're doing counselling, you're always working with the brain, right? Mm-hmm. So you're always thinking about how to get that thinking. But remember, back then, we didn't understand bacteria like we do now. We didn't understand the gut-brain axis. We didn't have that. I was told there was 200 bacteria in the gut, and they're not really important. Like, we didn't really know 25 years ago. So it was so curious to have this response. It was like, oh my God, like I can think clear, and like my head just felt different. So that led me on the journey. So I started colonics up in Mackay, Bottoms Up. So Bottoms Up Colonics was the name. And it was funny, that name, because I love it, Bottoms Up. It just came to me when I was doing, when I was visiting another therapist, just to see how they work.
It's funny. It's clever.
Yeah, and I asked him, could I do it? Use that name? Because it come to me in the shower. I was having a shower. And I went, oh, Bottoms Up. I'm going to call it Bottoms Up. And then I went and said to him, I'm going to call my business Bottoms Up. And he was mortified. Like, he said, oh, you can't. That's not very professional. I said, I think it's really cool. I think it's really clever. I said, I'll ask Joyce. So my mum had a really good friend, Joyce, and she was a really strict Baptist. Like, Joyce, you just had to be very beautiful woman, love Joyce, but very strict Baptist, religious, you know, never touched alcohol on her lips and that type of stuff. And I thought, you know what, because they were coming to visit, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna run that name past Joyce, and if Joyce, if I can get it past Joyce, I'm in. Cool. So I said to Joyce, I said, I think I'm gonna do a business called Bottoms Up. And you know how old ladies get that little grin when they don't want to grin?
She found the funny side.
She found the funny side.
That's good.
So it's like, oh, I'm gonna call it Bottoms Up.
Yeah, awesome.
So anyway, long story short, called it Bottoms Up. Started in Mackay, and it's been a quest of learning what actually happened in my body. What was it doing? And the whole water component and the whole nature component, because I was also spending a lot of time with the Aboriginal people then, and I was a mess. Like, psychologically, I was messy. I was having a breakdown. I left time, left a partner, left a job, like all of those things, the biggest stress things, like it was all happening. And I would be lying in a hammock at the end of the night, drinking a bottle of wine, smoking a pack of cigarettes, going, what the hell am I doing, you know? And trying to make sense of it all. So it led me on a big journey, but knowing that there was something about water, knowing that there was something about this therapy. Remember back then, I didn't have access to the internet. So I was out bush, so I could go on internet, very expensive, and it was really slow. Yeah. So dial not up. Dial up. Not like today where I can get on now and look up anything I want. It's very different back then. And finding books, again, really hard. All of this
Audible,
stuff,
nothing online.
No. Libraries didn't have books on colon hydrotherapy and what I wanted.
No one knew what.
No one knew what it was. Exactly. So it was an interesting
disgusting,
time.
Wasn't it? It was like, how dare you?
How old am I to even know that? Like, that's what worries. And then I got to, and this was through Donna Gates, through Body Ecology. I always like to mention who's been instrumental in my life in the guidance. And Donna Gates, I studied with her book called The Body Ecology Diet, and I studied that and studied a lot with her in those early years from 2006 or 7 or something, because she was the only one that talked about bacteria and cleansing and like really understood. I agree with her work, but she then had a colon therapist in LA, Luis Rojas, and she said, you need to go learn with him. So it's like, okay, I did. So I finally got to a point where I could actually go learn with him. He didn't really teach people. He was quite exclusive in the work that he did with the clientele that he had, which were very exclusive clientele. But I got to spend 10 days with him. And so I brought back the technique So that was in 2012. I was originally taught in 2004. I went and did his technique in 2012, but always in this time wanting to change things. And I'd call up therapists in this country, in Australia, and they'd say, oh, no, you can't do that. And I would say, why? And no one could tell me why. So for me, then I could keep going and looking, and because of the emotional shifts, I was really interested in that. And because I was really interested in cellular memory, really interested in that, what was actually happening to me, and then what was happening with these clients I was working with. Like, how come that's happening when you're having that? You know, like body psychology, cellular memory, and colonics. It was just like it was my lab in my clinic room for those years. And then I went and worked with Luis and understanding water and the quality of water and putting the water in and the technique that he used. And it's just, I mean, it's the technique, we actually call it the Rogers technique to identify him. But if he was to look at the technique, he probably wouldn't know it as his, because I've added a lot.
Added your thing.
But I want to also recognise he was one of my teachers that was quite instrumental. Yeah. So Bottoms Up grew, and now just in being in this water conference this year, it's just, so the reason we're unwell, people talk about inflammation, but the reason we have inflammation is because we're dehydrated. Dehydration is number one issue in any lifestyle disease, and even all cancer. Which some will claim is a lifestyle disease. So it's intracellular hydration. So it's the water inside the cell, and this is what's exciting because I look at micro and macro, I can see them both. So when I look in somebody's body, I can see the micro and it goes to the macro. It goes like galactical, like when I go inside there. So when I go inside a cell, I see inside Mother Earth, yeah? And if we look at the water, the water is the generator. Think about the Snowy River scheme, how we make our electricity. That's exactly what happens inside our cell with the mitochondria. So if we've got quality water, and man, there's so many people ripping you off out there at the moment with structured water and hydrogenated water, and I'm happy to talk about that a little bit, but just be aware of all that, because there's a lot of gimmicks, and we don't want to electrocute the water. Don't electrocute the water. It doesn't like that. It's a consciousness. It's like electrocuting yourself. Like, why would you do that? So the water inside the cell. So it's through our technique with Bottoms Up. It's through we do use a structured water. Because when we structure water, we're changing the molecular makeup, yeah? So it's in that nice little hexagon shape. And if we look at any water in nature, it vortexes. It spirals. It doesn't just go through straight lines and turn corners. Water doesn't do. There's nothing in nature that does that, actually. Water or any other element. There's no tree that is straight without movement. It always allows movement. You might have a structure, but within that structure, there's always allowance for movement. And
the temperature too?
Temperature. So we use a cool water, because colonics used to be, they would say that you had to do it 38 degrees body temperature. And I think that was probably, no one could tell me why, because I wanted to use cool water way from the beginning, because it just made more sense to me. Because when we use warm water, we're asking the body to absorb and pick up. Yeah. Yes. And what actually happens now is that we've got someone that's sick, so now you're actually adding more toxins through there, because it's going to go straight to your liver first, and your gut-associated lymphoid tissues, where it's going to go back into. It's like, I want it to expel. I want to get it out. So I was using cool water right from the beginning, and people would say that I couldn't. I think it was because they thought maybe the body would go into shock or something.
Well, hot water cleans the pipes, right?
Well,
that's
it?
That's
what they thought.
So maybe it makes sense,
hot
though.
Hot soapy water they used to use in the hospital.
Or soapy.
They used to use hot soapy water.
They use coffee too, don't they? Instant coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, we use coffee.
Some sort of instant coffee.
The coffee's got a science behind it, but it's not instant coffee. You want to use a good quality coffee.
All right, from Colombian coffee.
You can go out, laced, no, and then you can
be peaking for a few weeks.
So, the coffee. You want to have a mold-free, good quality, golden roasted coffee. You can go onto our website and get that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put that on. That's good. Yeah.
But all right. The idea of the coffee is that the coffee, if it's got the right amount of active components, it stimulates the bile production in the liver. So when you put that into your sigmoid colon, It takes 4 minutes from your sigmoid colon up your blood system into your liver. And people that use drugs and do top shelfing and allergy know that. Like, you don't waste drugs, right? It goes up your butt and it's there.
Yeah.
And doctors would do that for children. They would put it up their butt.
And neurophils, they can't,
Exactly. You put it up your butt. So we...
Bottoms up.
Bottoms up. That's what we do. And then have... so the coffee stimulates that bile production, which then pulls down the toxins. So that's why we use coffee. So we use coffee.
So you do coffee and water. You get like you got choices. Or
in our
what
clinics,
you recommend?
we do a range. It depends on what you're coming from.
Oh, they come down.
You do. Yeah. We've got, we use different herbs. Like, we've got a calming tea. So if you came in really anxious, there's no point in giving you a colonic until we've got your vagus nerve reset. Yeah, like your vagus nerve. Because the vagus nerve is the one nerve. We all know the vagus nerve, but I'll just say it just in case people don't understand. It's also known as the wandering nerve. It starts at the base of the skull in the brain and comes down and goes through every single organ in your body. It is like the master of CEO. It's like the one, if you get caught with PTSD or get caught in that cycle of anxiety, it's seen that your vagus nerve is caught on, it's stuck on. People that have enormous pain, actually the pain that you're talking about, in the old days they would cut the vagus nerve, not understanding that also deals with your digestion, your heart rate, your liver, all of your organs, all of your main organs, this vagus nerve travels through.
Really,
it's connecting. Yeah, they used to cut it for pain, for chronic pain.
Well, that's what I say, like I mentioned before, I have a neck. My arms sort of dropped off a bit, my bicep. So like you're saying, it could be a stress or anxiety reacting.
Yeah.
So
we have these things, like we have memories stored in our cellular waters of anything in our life, and also, as we said, intergenerationally. So it will store that. This is like on the field of epigenetics, right? So we've got anything there that can flare at any time. So the question I ask when someone's had something all of a sudden come up and they don't understand, it's like, why is it presenting itself now? What else is going on now? And typically there'll be around a change in someone's life. It will be a stress, and it mightn't be related, but it was enough to be the straw that broke the camel's back, if you like. It does that. Put you over, so now it presents itself. So now it's like, that's why when we heal, it's not just about doing a colonic actually, or doing a massage, or going to counselling. We have to find coherence in all of our three brains, and that's our head brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain. That then, if that are lined up, now our spirit we're in coherence, yeah? That's what we want to do. And when they're all off kilter, which is what modern life keeps us in, off kilter, it's really hard to get well. That's why we have people come in the clinic and they are eating so clean, they are exercising, they are trying to be mindful, they're doing all of these things, right? Why can't I be well? We hear that so often. I'm doing this, and they'll list off. Their food is restrictive to the point often, because they're trying to be so right to try and get well. It's not about the food. It's not about... It's about what we absorb. And it's not just the food we absorb, but the thoughts we absorb, the emotions that we absorb. They're all coming into the body. So if they aren't coherent, if they're not aligned with our solar plexus, our we, our spirit, then it's going to be off kilter.
Balance is the three out of three. Mind, body, soul.
100%.
Same thing, like, knowledge, love, and your physical, your body,
your
right?
feeling.
And that's where I'm a little bit out of whack at the moment. But I was getting I was getting very down and quite frustrated. Didn't lose my stuff, I'm in control, but I could feel it, because when they're not balanced.
It's really frustrating. It's really.
Oh, it's very.
I got cancer, and people said, "I can't believe you got cancer. How did you get cancer?" You've lived this life all of this time. It's like, because my stress level was like through the roof.
Yeah,
like,
it's tough work.
Through the roof. Well, I had other things go on as well, and I lost everything. Like I set up a license model. And I lost my house. I lost everything financially. And in fact, I came back from being in Mexico for 6 months. And I actually had breast implants as well. And I think that was also a thing, because I had them taken out.
I've heard about that. I've heard that.
And
toxins.
there's like a direct link. And I talked to a lot of women about that.
That's coming out now. So people who women, young girls getting done, think
just
about it.
Just don't do it because you'll get cancer.
I've heard. I've got another friend in the late 50s that got it taken out. So, and, same thing.
So bad.
Toxic.
But it's not, and what they have to understand, it's not like that it's leaks silicon or anything. That's not the issue. No. They can. But it's actually a foreign body that your body now wraps.
That's right. It's a
biofilm around it, and that biofilm now becomes pathogenic and inflamed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah.
So, but on side of that, I was also really stressed. I'd lost everything. I didn't know where I was. Someone that I loved so dearly passed away. All of these things happen. And I was coming back to Australia in 2019 to close everything down, actually. And
so you're rock bottom, that's it, you're done.
Yeah, I was done.
That's when it happens.
And then 2020, the world closed down. I got cancer, and Bottoms Up seemed to get really busy when I got out of the road.
It's like your time, though. This is your time to shine.
So, yeah, now
this is around
time
lockdown,
people
see?
Are hearing
the
it.
lockdown, see
people
that,
are
Nicholas?
Hearing it.
The lockdown, mate. There was a time for a lot of good things.
It was a time for a reset. It was a time for coherence.
And good things to come up, rise.
Oh, so many good things.
So what cancer was it? What
Lymphoma.
Lymphoma. You said it was a throat.
Don't ask me. Well, it was actually all through my chest.
Oh, okay. All done now? You went through chemo and stuff?
Yeah. It's fine. And that was one of the good things was my journey with it was, so I never really wanted to talk about cancer because I didn't want that energy to be in my body. So it was always about change. Yes, it's not cancer, it's change.
That's such a good way to think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But you know what? I've just, in my 3-month sojourn, it's been interesting because in doing that, I also never allowed a time of, grieving. And grieving for me and for my family, because my kids went through a lot with that as well. So that's been really interesting. Like I talk about a rite of passage, and we talk about that in shamanic world, like this rite of passage. And the white civilization doesn't do that well either. Like whether it's when you're going from a boy to a man, a woman to a girl to a woman, you're going into relationships, out of relationships. Those rite of passage, those moments. And I feel like the last 4 years and the last 3 months have crystallized everything. It's like it's been a rite of passage for me to come through this side and go, okay, well, what now? And have I got something that I can share now? Have I got something that I can share to people out there that are looking? Because there's a lot of people looking, right? Like people, and it's like the saying that we see often these days is we've got never before have we had a time with so much information, with so much 100%. Knowledge, but we don't have the wisdom.
Yep.
Knowledge isn't wisdom. Like we can know stuff, but what's the wisdom? And I'm not saying I've got that either, by the way, but it's like that's something to aspire to. That's something to think, okay, well, how do we get wisdom? And I think one of the ways we get wisdom is from knowing our shadows, being in our Jaguar, and then being able to welcome them in to your life, those shadows. So cancer for me wasn't something I fought. I welcomed her in.
That's it. Embrace it.
I embraced her in, and I talked to her. I would say pono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. For hours on end. When I was in hospital, like really bad, that's all I could do, and I would be saying that, just stroking my body, and just getting to know her. And I think that in this time for wisdom, it's about going through these things, seeing our wounds, feeling our wounds, and then being able to embrace them. And then once we embrace them, they then just become a part of us. They don't direct us as such, because they don't have that victim woundology type thinking that we may have got into before. Whereas now it's like, oh, okay, that's there. But your view now becomes more balanced. And we want to see the good things in life, like we want to share the light and the goodness and the love.
This is why you have a lot of people that need someone like you. You've been given these things to push past the show. Like that's what I always say, obstacle is the way, whatever comes, like you said, what path you went in the walk, wasn't it what you expected?
Yeah.
But your ankle happened and it changed the path and you went along with it. And look what you, like, would you have done the same? No, it would have been different.
That's right.
Yeah, if you expect how things pan out, it's not going to pan out that way, is it?
No.
One thing during my divorce, I realised that's what broke me the most. I was like, well, this is not meant to happen.
Yeah.
This is not written. It's not written in the book, is it?
No,
the book
that's
that we've been
not the
told.
plan.
It's not the plan. It's not
That's
the blueprints.
Not the plan. That's not how my life's going to end up.
Yeah. So there's always, there's always a way.
Yeah.
I got diagnosed with celiac disease about 15 years ago. Before there was nothing out. I was probably one of the first with birdseed.
Yeah.
So there was birdseed to eat. It was really depressing. And that was another thing. And I used to tell people need to get checked. Everyone needs a camera. They're damaging this food, the wheat out here in the West.
Glyphosate,
Yeah. We talked about it on the last podcast or two of them ago. And my nephew, like there's my niece's nephew, there's a few young kids that I know have got stomach problems and never had that. So this goes with what we eat in too, isn't it? There's nothing... I think it's out in the West. You go to Europe, you can have this. You can have wheat.
It is amazing how it is different. Over there.
And this is what I learned. So I looked into colon cleans for celiac. Is it okay for celiac? Because
100%.
Nothing doesn't do anything to the good bacteria or anything like that.
Yeah, so that's such a myth, isn't it?
Because I rang up a while ago, to check it out, and there was a few things I read up, so I held off.
So I talk about traditional colonics, so that's pre-bottoms up or outside of bottoms up and then bottoms up. Traditional colonics was very much about cleansing the large colon of poop. That was its job, without much understanding of any other systems in your body or what else is going on there. Basic understanding about good bacteria, very basic. But it was all just about your large colon and getting rid of that waste. Celiac's small intestine, remember? So that's where it affects. It's your villi and your small intestine that have been damaged, and now you can't absorb the nutrient, and you will have leaky gut. So your villi are separated, so you've got bigger molecules going through there that's also causing inflammation. I think those two come together. So there's the traditional colonics, but with bottoms up, and what we understand is that it's about hydration and it's about healing. So the colon toner that I bought you today. Yeah, sure.
So there's this.
That will be great for you with celiac, yeah. So that's a product that I developed with a naturopath, actually. I put some of my things in there, my products that I wanted in there, like chamomile to soothe. Like chamomile does two things. It soothes your nervous system, but it also, makes like a mucus type thing, like it's soothing to your colon wall. Imagine when you got celiac or you got inflammatory bowel disease, you've got sunburn on the inside on your colon wall, yeah? So, and that's another reason why I don't use hot water, because I would have that image like, I've been sunburned a lot. I love the sun.
It would burn, wouldn't it?
And
hot shower with sun.
Oh my God, it's the worst thing. You end up with blisters. Like, you just don't be doing that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So cool water, like it's like, no, I need to put cool water in there. So that was one reason.
Okay.
Anyway, I do chamomile. And the other thing that we've got in there that we've just put in our colon toner now is a bacterial strain called Infantile bifidus. And I do have a funny story about that, because so Infantile bifidus bacterium is a strain that you're born with. Hopefully, if you and maybe with celiac you won't, and that's the reason, right? But you're born with that going through the mother's birth canal, if the mother's healthy, etc., etc. And then when you get to about 6 or 7, that infantile bifidus changes up into just bifidum bacterium, and that's one of your main, like lactobacilli. There's a few strains, but people would know bifidum bacterium, and you will find it in your yogurts, etc. That's a strain. They're strains of bacteria that live mainly in your large colon. Mainly actually on your right-hand side, on your ascending side. And they actually convert your B vitamins, right? So if you've got a low vitamin B count, you will have a low bifidum bacterium count. Most people with any type of digestive issue will have a low bifidum bacterium. When I used to have kids, I would treat babies with really severe colic, skin issues, or I would treat them with a supplement of infantile bifidus bacteria. And then if I had mothers bring children to me that had really bad eczema and psoriasis or gut problems and or combination, I would treat them with infantile bifidus with colonics up until they were like 10 years old. And I would have a naturopath who would get like, you can't give children infantile bifidus because they're too old for that now and it's too strong and all that type of stuff. What's so ironic is now we're seeing in science infantile bifidus can be given to adults. It's such an imperative, pivotal bacteria we need to have in the colon to promote colonization of these bacteria in our gut. So anyway, that's just like, I was saying that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
so it's
now.
so beautiful. So we've just now put it in our colon tone as well. We've added infantile bifidus into that. Just so it's such, and in any of our products, I don't put fillers, because in the old days, again, like you'd go to buy a product and it'd be full of psyllium, or it'd be full of clay, or diatomaceous earth, and all those really horrible things that are really harsh to your gut. Like we have to treat our digestive system as something that's very gentle.
Yeah.
It's
the core, isn't it?
It is a core, and it's soft and it's gentle, and it needs to be moist, and it needs to be loved up.
Yeah. Loved up. I like that.
We don't want to be making it work hard.
Yeah.
We don't want it. Because we've got to keep the nervous system calm. Remember your vagus nerve. So we want, and that's why we use the chamomile and the different products we've got in there. Because I'm really, if you're got anxious, you won't poop.
Yeah, no.
Or you will poop like crazy. You'll do diarrhea.
Yeah.
And that's either way, because they're both not pooping. Cause, yeah. Yeah.
I love it. And what's this one over here?
So then we've got
the shroom.
Shroom Zoom.
Zoom.
So again,
So what's in this one?
what we've put in that,
Psychedelic?
No. But there's plenty of supplies of psychedelic these days.
There is.
More for your digestive health, the other mushrooms in that, plus the green powders. But out of what we've got in that, I took that all through my last 3 months travelling, and I'll tell you what, a teaspoon of that in the morning keeps you going. But what's in that exciting is a bacteria strain, and it's a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii.
Mm-hmm.
It is a transient yeast bacteria. It's a symbiotic one, like kefir. So when you have it, it might only stay in your system 2 or 3 days, and then it passes out. But it's going to, if people are worried about candida, which most people have a candida infection, you'll have a fuzzy head. For women, you'll have thrush. Men, they'll have maybe skin issues. Like men can get it. There was such a fallacy that men didn't have candida. You can have candida, you mightn't get thrush, although men do get thrush, and you'll see it like on their penis head. Like that is actually a thing that happens. Of course, we don't talk about it, because we don't talk about anything down there.
That's so embarrassing.
Yeah. But thrush is a real thing. But the candida, the yeast strain that is a symptom of, certainly, and it's transmitted. Like, so if your partner's got it, you've got it, because you're sharing bodily fluids, so it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So to keep on top of that, we've got Saccharomyces boulardii in that, and the Saccharomyces boulardii, is that transient and just pushes that through. It's just a really beautiful strain of yeast, if you can have a beautiful strain of yeast bacteria.
Oh, wow, this is awesome.
Plus, it gives you the energy it's all your greens. It gives you the energy for the day. So that's what I took every day when I've been travelling. And can I say, I didn't take colon toner with me. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't have it in a cupboard at the time. I'm one of those people that doesn't poo if you're not at home and in my routine.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Like, I don't...
You need your toilet.
There is no way I would go on the plane or in somewhere else. Like, you just don't do it.
I know people like that, yeah.
You just don't do it. Was definitely...
It clogs you up, doesn't it?
I pooed every single day, I can say very proudly, in my whole trip. Even...
Because it's the mushroom zoom.
Even on the plane coming home, it was like... Wow, so you've come a long way. Like, this would never have happened. But the energy, so it's good.
Is that the zoom?
But it's a energy in that. Like, that just gives you a nice energy.
Okay, cool.
With all the green powders in it. And it's alkalizing, obviously. It's a buffer to keep our body in that, not alkaline, but alkalized, to help bring our body into balance, homeostasis and balance,
That's excellent, okay.
Yeah.
And so this one here?
Oh, and that one is just SOL, shit on the liver. So it just helps eliminate
SOL.
Clean your liver. Yeah,
shit on the liver. I love it. Bottoms up, shit on the liver. Be happy.
Because there was a saying, and you guys might be too young, but there was a saying that if people that were grumpy, like in the old days, or the old people would talk about, if you're grumpy or if kids are grumpy, the parents would say you need to go do a poo.
Yeah.
Or because you're too grumpy, or the older people would say to other older people, you got shit on the liver, like go sort yourself
you got
out.
The shits.
Yeah, because you're cranky, if you're angry. Yeah. And it's so true, like, well, the liver is a storage of anger. It's a storage of actually our masculine anger. Okay. It's from our father's lineage. So if you look at your father's lineage, that might be what
the masculine gets the poo side of things.
And actually you with your right side, is that your liver's on your right side.
Yeah, so I think this, I've just the last few months, amazing. It's amazing how the body reacts.
Yeah, and you said it was when you started this journey.
I did start this journey. It must have been internal. What was it? Nerves? Is it? Yeah. Is it
Yeah, I
nerves?
think it's interesting when we put ourselves out there. Like, that's something that, like, you know, the confidence and the courage, like, to do what you want to do and live your authentic self. I think it does take confidence and courage.
Well, it's that ripping way, you know. And going back to that too, I will get, but
no, you're right.
yeah, like, you know, with that age thing as well, like, people always go, oh, the 20s are the best years of my life, or these years are the best years of my life. That upsets me. It's like, why you give up for, you know? Keep stripping that wrapping off, right? You know, go on this, take some shroom zoom.
I would never want to be back in my 20s or 30s even.
I love this. Look at you at 60, hey? Still going.
Yeah, you've got to come to like your body in a different way, particularly if it's been really sick. Like that's all tricky.
Yeah,
like there's that. It's actually a bit of a mind game goes on there.
Well, your body does.
But I think it's about you still want to be able to. Yeah, you got to navigate and find that place, you know. And it's about your perspective, like I was talking about before, like whether you're looking through the days with your serpent, your jaguar, or then the next one is hummingbird and eagle. And hummingbird is where we look through from our solar plexus, our third eye, and that's our intuition. And it's like, well, what would my higher self, what would my higher self say now? Like, how would I look at this situation? So anytime I've got a situation that comes up that we want to make a decision on, look at it through those four perspectives. And the eagle, as we said before, is you look at it's a big picture. It's least energy for most effective outcome. So look at it from your serpent. What's the day-to-day need? What rent do I need to pay? And how do I need to make this relationship feel valued today on a real practical, physical level, yeah? Then on a jaguar, well, what's actually holding me back? What wounds, what shadows talking to me in the background there? Like, who's the narrator of that story? Because they're having a bit of a fan time at the moment. Like, let's actually quieten them a bit and see if we can put them to a side. And then from the hummingbird, you know, like the hummingbird's an amazing little bird. You know how it travels across the ocean? It just intuitively knows. They think it's with the magnetism from the earth where it can go down and get some nectar. Because it's a tiny little bird with these tiny little wings that hardly can flutter. Goes down and gets the nectar so I can go on. It just travels vast distances across the oceans. I can't remember the countries, but I'm sure your viewers will be able to look it up and see. And the hummingbird, and it's like, so how do they know to go down there and get that nourishment there? And they don't forget to do that, otherwise they don't pass on. So when we're asking our higher self, well, what nourishment am I getting from this? What is this a part of my path? So we're perceiving it's how, because everything's a story. Everything's a story. So it's like, how do I make sense, and how do I be the narrator of that? And then with my eagle, how do I see the eagle? How would she act now? So it comes to the point of every time that we want to make decisions, or we're changing our life purpose, or we're stepping out and doing these things, and we're starting to get some pushback, or, you know, and I've had, like, when I started Bottoms Up, can you imagine, like, the butt jokes that I've got? I've had more butt jokes, and I've known about every single butt joke. I could write a book on butt jokes, probably. And it's so funny because it's
Bottoms Up dad jokes.
Yeah, we could do a coffee table edition, but when you've got that drive, like, really deep inside of you, to do something, whether it's this or something else that people are out there thinking about that they want to do, you've got to go back to that. I'm going to say your essence. You've got to take your little wrapping papers off and go back and be game. Like, you know, like when a toddler is learning to walk and they're so courageous, they don't even know that they can't walk. Yeah. You know, who told a butterfly that it could fly? Yeah, that's like, how did it know that it could fly? It just flapped its wings and it flew.
Just did it.
And it's like, you know, how, you know, when you're in sync, when you have synchronicity with your spirit and your purpose, whatever words land for you, they can be interchangeable, right? But for me, it's spirit. I work with spirit, or spirit works with me. We co-creators, right? So when I'm in synchronicity with that, I don't have to really do anything except keep surrendering and moving. And there's this saying, like, it's like, what did I say at the conference? It's something like, the fish don't swim, they're swum. Birds don't fly, they're flown. The healer doesn't heal, they're healed. So, and I just made that last bit up for me, but it's like, I don't heal anyone, But what I do is I heal myself.
Yeah.
And when I heal myself, then that allows that to flow on to that next person. Because I can't be a good healer if I'm not healed.
100%. Lead by example. Same thing. You've got to do it yourself.
Well, you're holding that energy. You're holding that space.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. I'm so happy I was connected with you.
Yeah.
Really, yeah. So what's next? What's your next? Well, you're going to Canberra. You're going. You go back home. You live in Queensland.
Yeah.
So
I met a guy in the water conference that I'm going to go and speak to about his water. He's a scientist and he lives outside of Canberra, so I'm really excited about where that goes. Back home, I'm actually going back to Chile in February to go around the medicine wheel again.
What a shame.
I know.
So you love it that much. So is this the part of the training?
I got this really clear message at the fire one night that I had to come back and do it again, and which is sort of quite like, why am I doing this? Because it's hard work emotionally and spiritually. Like, it's not an easy run. You're sort of digging up the depths in some of the days, and you're making yourself quite vulnerable.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a reason.
Yeah.
And I guess I like that work. I want to be clear. So I'm going to do that. And I guess for the focus really is as a book, as I mentioned, that I'm going to try and get that written this year. And for Bottoms Up, we really want to up our training and stuff this year. So we're developing that a lot more, and our presence, because what we do offer, no one else does actually offer what we do and how we do it, and seeing it as hydration and not elimination. So I want to do some more work around that. And then whatever else the wind.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'm going to come, actually going to get in touch and I want to give it a go.
Yeah.
Go get my bottoms up.
Come and get your bottoms up fixed.
Yep.
Yeah, and we say to people, like having parasite cleansers and or just coming for some sessions, just know that it's not a one-off thing. That's again being one of the things that have.
So you got a few sessions to do. It's a few, because I remember looking into it. You can't just get a full clean. It takes a while.
Yeah. So
the levels, is it? Like you go, you clean up there and clean up there. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's a bit of an old analogy, to be honest, because I don't see that it's like levels and getting higher up. Because if you think about it, your colon's in an upside down U. But we're not actually just working with your colon bottoms up, I'm working with your blood. So I want to saturate and hydrate your blood, and with the structured water that we use, I want to get that inside the cell. So for that saturation to occur, it takes some sessions. And then as we actually hydrate at that level, then that promotes your deeper cleansing. And that's why when we do parasite cleanses, we can see what we see. Like I don't know if anyone's ever seen, but you can look on our side and there's a map, or maybe it's our parasite page. I don't know where you'll find them, but there's somewhere. You see a huge amount of parasites, big parasites, that people go, what the hell is that? Now, there would be some that would say that's not true, it's just mucus or whatever. And they can say that. And we can't really prove either way because it changes and we can't get it tested. But what happens when someone releases those things is that their symptoms now are no longer. So we work on symptom relief. So, the symptoms are released. So, so it's not... It's certainly you're cleaning deeper in with more sessions, but for us... when you come to see us, it's we're actually hydrating deeper within, and that comes really strongly out of when I did have cancer and being really aware and profound, really, because I was doing a lot of research on cancer, obviously, and how the chemotherapy only works around the cell, the cancer's around the cell. It doesn't actually go into the cell, and it's in the cell is where it will sit and breed and grow and. So we want to be able to disrupt inside the cell as well. So we're changing all that homeostasis up so that we can do that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, when you go, you continue. I'd love you to return for part 2 one day, and with your book maybe.
With my book, that might be a while down the track, but
hey,
sure.
There's always, I'm going nowhere. So,
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't
So definitely
know.
I'll track you. I'll keep in touch with you. Might meet you in Chile.
You've got my number.
Yeah, might meet you in Chile.
My profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And you got clinics in Queensland as well? Whereabouts are your clinics?
So if you go on to Bottoms Up Clinics, you can look on our location tab. But we've got I think there's about 15 clinics or 14 clinics. We've got one in Port Melbourne. We've got one opening up down at Ocean Grove outside of Geelong in Melbourne. We've got my original one up in Mackay that I don't own anymore, but is still going, you know. And we have clients from when I used to see them still go there, and their grandkids. Like, it's just amazing.
That's good.
That's been such a mining town that you wouldn't think would support us, and they've been so supportive of Bottoms Up. So for that, I have lots of gratitude. And then the Whit Sundays, Gold Coast, South Australia up in Gawler, Sydney.
Yeah, so what ones you got in Sydney? Where's Nez?
Nez has just got her place approved, and it's in the Hills District somewhere.
That's where I'm out there. Hills,
So I don't know the actual address.
I'll go see her.
But go see her. Yeah.
I'll let her stick a hose.
Yeah, let her do the hose thing. And for the people, that's the thing that people are most worried about. And it's like, that's like 2 seconds, and we don't even really look. I mean, we have to look. But
you massage though, right? Don't you use a process as well? You massage your stomach?
We don't do a lot of massage actually, because we don't overstimulate the colon.
Okay.
For me, the colonics is very much about the water.
Yep.
The water's the medicine.
Okay.
So we will touch different parts of the colon, but the traditional method is very much a big massage component, which would overstimulate the colon and in fact promote maybe leakage, which people never like. Fair enough. We do touch. We certainly do touch the body, but it's the water that's the medicine. It's the water that's making the difference. And if I can get that water in there, and the way that I've developed the technique is we hold that water in there for a length of time, so you get that reabsorption and that filling in the colon. That's actually what does the cleansing, as opposed to doing really physical massage. I've had guys bring in like whacker packers. They wanted to do that on their belly while I have a massage.
Really?
Yeah. And I go, I don't think so, but if you think you need it.
Yeah, I think it's more of a seduction.
But I think that's just because of also where colonics has come from. They thought that that's what you did, and then maybe they've had therapists that did that. And like 20 minutes into the session, I'd say, do you still want your whack packer? And I'd be joking with them, like I'm a bit playful, and they would go, "No, it's all right." Thanks.
You got to make it feel comfortable, though, you know.
Yeah.
Because they got this. No one's.
You do. You got to
check.
Yeah. And look, in taking all of that away, like people are courageous and they're in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
So we certainly provide a space that's respectful for that.
Yeah.
Like you will not at
nice
ever.
Music, relaxing.
Yeah, nice smells. Smells are really important. The way that we set the clinic up is very deliberate.
Yeah.
And even like when I first set up and I was out the bush, people were so brave coming out there. And I had TPs and all my weird stuff, and then they'd come into this shed that looked like a shed from the outside.
Hose hanging out.
And then got a hose. It's like, oh my God. But
I'll be gentle.
Yeah, it's all right. You'll be fine. But once they come into the clinic room, it's such a beautiful, serene. It's a healing space.
Yeah.
Like that's always been so important to me. And it is a healing space.
Well, my mate went there and he'd tell me, he goes, mate, there was something that came out of roots with it or something. Like,
some of what?
There was like roots attached to something. What's the worst thing that, like, you probably can't say is like there's a lot of
that
stuff.
I've seen?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that comes in, like food that's been there for months or years or...
Oh, yeah. Like, for a physical thing, I guess the funniest thing is that I was given a session, and it was a guy, and he was getting rid of some stuff, and been a few sessions, he was on a cleanse, and I said, that looks like Turkish Delight. Like, when have you been eating that? Anyway, he goes, no. And then you can tell he's thinking, he's like, oh, my God, I used to eat Turkish Delight ice cream. Is it Turkish Delight? What's that hard stuff inside... He had fired
honeycomb, is it? No,
it wasn't honeycomb. It was like a Turkish delight.
Like a nougat.
But Turkish,
fudge.
Like a nougat thing. Turkish delight is soft, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, not Turkish delight. Then it was something else.
Nougat or something.
Something like nougat.
Like a bubble. It's like squishy.
And he was like,
digest.
"Oh my God, I haven't had that since I had ice cream like 5 years ago or whatever."
It's been stuck in there.
So it just stays in it. We've got a lot of tubing in there.
Yeah.
We're not a self-cleaning.
Well, nothing goes up, does it?
We've got like, what is it? 8 meters of small intestine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bends in there. And the small intestine can expand. Like, you can hold waste in there as well when it gets trapped. Yeah. The saddest thing I've seen, the most profound thing that I've seen a few profound things, but because I work with people with cellular memory and with healing on the table as well, I had one lady and she was dealing with cancer, breast cancer. And we were just talking, like, so when I have, this is more my work, not, some of the therapists work like this, it depends on their ilk, but I will talk also then more therapeutically with people around what's going on for them and the emotions that are coming up. And our clinics do that, the owners do the therapists do that, you know, like we talk about the emotions that are coming up when you have a colonic, because it's bizarre what random things can come up and what memories you get. And this lady that I was working with the breast cancer, and because we've got a big screen so you can see really easily, and she was talking about a particular incident, and then what came out was this face. Literally, it would look like a face looking up towards the tube, like towards her, just with yelling, with this mouth wide open, just yelling at her. It was just, it gave me, like, when I saw it, it was just, because we were in this thick of this therapeutic intervention, and then this come away, and I just said to her, I said, just look at that. Like, that is what you were just talking about. And it was like she released, and it was about people screaming at her, this one person screaming at her, and then we could see it in the release. It happened. Wow. I've got thousands of stories, really, but that's like the one that come to mind about.
Yeah. Wow, so it is a healing
cellular
thing.
memory. It's such a healing.
Yeah.
If you want to take it there. And I think actually what we're learning about water and what we're learning about healing and what people are wanting now, I think that that's where Bottoms Up's going. And I think that's what people are after, is that it's just not a dump and run. I talk about dump and runs. Like, that's when we're not a dump and run. Yeah. Like, you come into and we can support you on your healing journey. Yeah,
that's great. Oh, I think you do well, of course.
Thanks.
I'm looking forward to it. And I like to thank you so much for coming out. I know it's a lot.
You're welcome.
You know, you came from Queensland, and you just arrived from Chile as well. Was that last week or the week before?
Yeah, just last week or
so.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Seriously.
You're welcome.
I'm honoured. You know, it's really nice to have you here. And I'll keep in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm excited. I'm excited for your journey. I want to see what's next. Hey? Oh, thanks. Thank you so much, Suzy.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll keep in touch, all right? Thank you.